not get crazy.
Most everyone's mad here.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast, or more specifically, back to our regularly scheduled program. Because I know that last week it was a heck of an episode. I mean, I really enjoyed my time last week. It was fantastic. But let's just say that it really did stand out above the rest, considering that it actually did break the record as the longest AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast episode yet, going for over 3 hours, which never happened in my podcast before. But then again, you pretty much have to consider the fact that we got a new extra subscription. Oh, thank you, Daniel. Yeah, very nice of you. But anyways, as I was saying, considering that we have the combining factors of all the major announcements that happened at the D23 Expo, and that I had a special guest star in which we would go back and forth about all the things that have been announced, it pretty much resulted in a massive recipe to really be more longer than it would usually be. But don't you worry, now we are sending back things to normal, and now things are back to where we're gonna go and talk about the regular stuff, like whatever craziness that has happened in the entertainment and in the animation world. And don't worry, we will have plenty to talk about, but I can guarantee you this won't be 3 hours long. So, without further ado, I would like to go into the chat wall. And I'd like to ask you all, are you ready for today's episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast? Let me hear it, folks. Are you ready? Let's see now. Yes. Ooh, okay. I see people are prepared. That is nice. That is wonderful to see. And so, without further ado, it is now time that we shall go and get things started. And with our first story that we have here today, now this is something that I have touched upon with Logan a little bit last week. There were so many things that we wanted to talk about that we only summarized our quick thoughts about the matter, considering that there was the teaser trailer that was released last week, and we did touch upon the controversy a little bit, but not a whole lot. We just wanted to express our thoughts about the announcements that has happened, and even the fact that we're getting a whole lot more Disney live-action remakes in general. But now, considering that we are at the point where things have really gotten out of hand, I feel like now would be a great time to fully get into this controversy, to really dive deep into the drama and what has been going on, and pretty much call out the stupidity of this entire situation. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and begin with our first story as we talk about the Little Mermaid controversy. So, as you guys probably know, like I said before, at the D23 Expo, Disney revealed a teaser trailer for the upcoming 2023 Disney live-action remake of The Little Mermaid. And one element that really does stand out... Oh, hold on a sec. Thank you so much, Cinema Again in Reviews, for the subscription right there. And back to what I was saying... yes, with the Little Mermaid remake, and the one thing that it does stand out is the fact that we have Halle Bailey, a well-known black singer, who is going to be playing the role of Ariel. And in that teaser trailer, we actually did get our first taste, in which she also sang a small portion of Part of Your World. Apparently at the D23 Expo, she actually sung the entirety of Part of Your World, in which she got a massive standing ovation. Now, from there, this decision casting of the fact that we are going to get a black Ariel, some people are not that okay with it and did not hesitate to go and express their frustrations upon the matter. And from there, the backlash on the reboot just quickly became bigger and bigger and bigger, to the point that on YouTube, apparently the teaser trailer ended up accumulating more than 1 million dislikes. Some reports even say that it has accumulated over 2 million dislikes. I don't know if it's just from the one teaser trailer from like the Walt Disney Pictures YouTube channel, the one that they have uploaded, or if it's from all the Little Mermaid trailers in general. But still, it was one of those that some people on the internet really love to hate. However, at the same time, there are other groups of people that wanted to go and call out those haters, in which they saw that a lot of the hatred from this movie is mainly regarding the fact that they have hired a black actress or a black singer playing the role of Ariel, and that a lot of it is due to racism. And from there, this has pretty much accumulated into this massive culture war in which we have people defending the movie and its casting choice of Halle Bailey as Ariel versus people who are completely against it and accuse this of race swapping, accuse Disney of forced diversity, and all that kind of stuff. It just really resulted into this massive culture war where now the 2023 Little Mermaid has become an entire political debate in itself, where discussing about the movie has less to do about the movie itself and it has more about regarding race. It's pretty much imagine like reliving the Black Lives Matter movement, but instead of a legitimate movement that matters, people would only talk about a Disney live action remake. And that's the whole situation that we are seeing right now. It's pretty much a big political battle of the left versus the right, but now it's all regarding the Little Mermaid remake and should a black actress play as Ariel. And it's pretty much accumulated to the point where it's kind of hard to go and have a proper discussion about this remake, because I'm just going to go and express my full thoughts right now that personally, I am not excited for this movie. Like, I'm not really anticipating for this feature, mainly because of the fact that I'm not really a fan of Disney live action remakes. And I mean, not too long ago, I just came out of watching the Pinocchio remake on Disney Plus, and I'm sorry, but that movie was just hot garbage. It was really bad, and I did not enjoy it one bit. And when Disney made all those announcements of more remakes coming soon, like Peter Pan, The Little Mermaid, Snow White, Mufasa, you know, it was at the point where I was in the mood where I just really wasn't in, you know, I just didn't really want to hear that there's more of that coming, that more of what I've just witnessed with Pinocchio shall be coming in more. So the fact that we're going to get a Little Mermaid movie, which will have the same treatment like we've recently seen with films such as Aladdin or The Lion King or Beauty and the Beast, it's not necessarily something that I am excited about. But then again, when it comes to the actual casting of Halle Bailey, that one I don't mind. That one, I think it's perfectly okay, and she has definitely proven herself that she could definitely play the part, especially when the fact that the main thing that you need to have to play as Ariel is a good voice, since her voice is like a key element, not just in terms of her character, but also with the entire feature film itself. So you can't really do something like you can't really do something like the 2017 Beauty and the Beast, where you would go and hire someone that may look the part, but sounds like a Five Nights at Freddy's animatronic. So at least I am glad that Disney brought in a really good singer. And from the stuff that I've heard about her performances, especially when she did sing Part of Your World at the D23 Expo, apparently she is fantastic. Like, she got a massive standing ovation. Everyone loved it. So honestly, in that regard, I'm not necessarily bothered by. But the thing that I feel like it's so bothersome to have this discussion in the first place is because the political aspect has been so heated up with it. It feels like now you can't really talk about it without people taking it too personally. Where now, like, you have to be in a moment where you got to pick a side of like, oh, if you love it, like, if you support Black rights, you should love this Little Mermaid reboot. We also got an extra subscriber. Thank you, Amar Loves Art. But anyways, as I was saying, the fact that it's becoming so personal, where now it's like you like supporting or not supporting the movie. It pretty much tells you how you support Black rights and stuff like that. And I feel like it's just a situation that has really gotten out of hand, where like this is a moment where the internet has truly turned a molehill into a mountain, you know, like really taking something completely out of proportion and is now making the discussion entirely political. And now it's about Black rights for some reason, because of the fact that now we have received a Black Ariel. And I can pretty much say right now that having a Black Ariel is the least of this movie's issues. And honestly, I do agree that for those people who are massively upset of the fact that we are getting a Black Ariel, or the fact that the Ariel in the live action remake will be played by a Black actress, yeah, I do find that stance is actually pretty racist. There's no other way around it. And all the arguments that people would go and make, it's absolutely ridiculous. Like, some might find, you know, like there are some that some may think sounds logical, but all of them are completely idiotic. They're pretty much at the point where like they make absolutely no sense. There's no reason to bring this kind of argument into it because there's an easy answer, or it's just something that like it feels completely ridiculous, and you're just making yourself look even more stupid by enabling those kinds of arguments. Like, one great example is one that the far right and anti-woke people love using so much is apparently this discussion brought up by fascist Matt Walsh. And by the way, I'm not calling Matt Walsh a fascist because I want to put him down or like make him look bad or anything like that. He actually calls himself that. Like, he is like a legitimate self-proclaimed fascist. So that's not me. That is like legit Matt Walsh's words. But anyways, so a lot of anti-woke people actually use a talking point from Matt Walsh in which he would bring up the scientific aspect of having a Black mermaid, in which he argues that it is scientifically impossible for a Black mermaid to actually exist, or for Black people to actually live underwater, or if people do live underwater, it would be impossible for them to be Black because of the scientific notions of how the sun rays would hit the water and how they like transcend into water. Like, the sun doesn't hit as hard when you're underwater, more so than when you are above water. So that is one major argument that you see the far right and anti-woke people go and pass around. Okay, now there are two things that I would like to bring up about that on why he is absolutely wrong on that. Number one, like, if we look into the scientific aspect, maybe there is some truth that, like, when you live deep underwater, there's no way that you can catch the sun rays and have your skin be more tan. So it is possible that your skin will end up being white or maybe even translucent. But when it comes to Ariel, on several occasions, regularly, in fact, we actually do see her come out of the water. Often she would hang out above water so that she would go and have a chat with some of her friends like Scuttle. So it is common that Ariel would be above the water so that she would go and actually get some sun rays. You know, she would actually get a tan. And considering that in terms of the lore of mermaids, often they do show up above water. Like, they do pop out their heads, and sometimes they can get a breath of fresh air. They can breathe both air and they can breathe underwater. So it is possible that they can go and actually get a tan and result in themselves having a bit of darker skin. Not to mention that even though the rays won't hit as hard when you're underwater, it can still hit you when you're in shallow waters, which mermaids can often appear in shallow waters, or they can go swim around in shallow waters. Now, if you want a realistic comparison, take a look at manatees. Manatees actually have the same kind of skin as humans do, or at least the same kind of skins that mammals would have. And if you look at some manatees, they can swim around in shallow waters, and their skins can actually be a bit darker than Caucasians. So it is indeed possible to actually get a tan even if you live underwater. It just depends where. Like, yeah, if you live in the deep ocean where everything is black, then yeah, maybe your skin is translucent. But in the case of mermaids, it is indeed possible, according to their lore and what we've seen in Disney's The Little Mermaid, that yes, they can indeed get a tan. And also, there is another argument onto how it is absolutely stupid about what Matt Walsh was doing. The fact that he is questioning the scientific accuracy of The Little Mermaid. Do you realize how dumb that sounds? Do you realize how ridiculous that statement is? That someone is questioning the scientific accuracy, the realistic elements of The Little Mermaid. You don't even see YouTubers do that because we accept the fact that everything in there is completely fantasy. Like, okay, let's forget the notion about mermaids. Like, yeah, we know mermaids are not real, but even if you look beyond that, there is still a massive list of all the things that are wrong with looking into the scientific accuracy of The Little Mermaid. We're talking about a movie that has talking fish, that fish somehow now have the ability to go and communicate. And we know that in the remake or even in the original, like, we've seen all different kinds of animals that can talk. We've seen fish that can talk, like with Flounder or Flotsam and Jetsam. We've seen crabs talking with Sebastian. Even other animals like Scuttle, a seagull who is talking. And they're going to do the exact same thing with the remake as well. Not to mention that they can also play music. I wonder, like, those people who are questioning the scientific accuracy of Black Mermaids, would they go and question the scientific accuracy of a scene like Under the Sea? Like that little musical number? How is it even possible for music to actually transcend so that we could actually hear the music that's actually playing, or how they play all their instruments and all that kind of stuff? Like, nobody's gonna go and question, like, the scientific accuracy of the music and the speaking the speaking roles in The Little Mermaid while everyone is underwater. And then you got Ursula. Oh boy, now that is a scientific train wreck right there. I mean, we're literally talking about a sea witch with octopus legs. Like, that itself defies all logic in science. But then, hold on, there's more to it. Her powers, though. Her powers. What the fridge is all of that about? I mean, she's able to make potions and concoctions, and she's capable of making dreams come true. The ability of taking anyone and turn them into someone who is handsome and beautiful. And also with Ariel, she is able to go and make a deal where she can transform her fins into legs. And all that in exchange of literally taking her voice, to literally take her voice to the point where now with her legs, she is no longer able to speak. Like, period. That's it. And on top of that, there's also this, terms of conditions that apparently there is a bit of a deadline with this deal, that if she cannot get a true love's first kiss, then somehow the legs magically turn into fins. And all this through a contract. And yet nobody seems to want to go and actually question the scientific accuracy of any of that. So let me go and ask you, if people are willing to hold their suspension of disbelief among all the things that happen in The Little Mermaid, how is it that they cannot hold their suspension of disbelief about the existence of a black mermaid? How is it that you look at everything in The Little Mermaid, like you're perfectly fine with it, you could perfectly get yourself invested in it, and then suddenly you see a black mermaid and you're like, wait a minute, something's not right here. Something's a bit unrealistic about this Little Mermaid movie. So overall, the thing is, not only is the scientific accuracy of Matt Walsh completely wrong, even when you look into the lore aspect of mermaids, but also it is completely stupid in the first place to even do so, like to scientifically analyze The Little Mermaid, because it's a fairy tale. It's all made up. It's a fantasy. It's not supposed to look, you're not supposed to look into the scientific accuracy of The Little Mermaid. No one has ever done so for decades. So why the fridge now when we have the existence of a black mermaid? I'm telling you, it's the dumbest thing that I've honestly heard all week. And I just want to say right now, if Matt Walsh really is as intelligent as he portrays himself, he would not be a Trump-supporting conservative. There's no such thing as a Trump-supporting conservative who is actually like mighty intelligent and knows all and can have like intellectual arguments and scientific rundowns as to what is real and what is not. It's like, no, you're not, dude. You're dumb. All your viewers are dumb. And that argument is freaking dumb. But then there's also another discussion that people keep bringing up. Like one argument against this Little Mermaid, against like a black Little Mermaid, is that some people would go as far as to accuse it of race swapping. That apparently Disney is taking away a role that is supposed to be for white women and only gave it to a black girl for forced diversity reasons or whatever. So like that is another argument that people kept on making, like the whole race swapping argument, or like trying to say like, oh, this is blackwashing or whatever. And let me just say this right now. Do you guys honestly believe that this is the first time that a non-white actress actually played Ariel? Like this actually happened several times in the past. And I'm not talking about like local community theater stuff. I'm not talking about like little moments in parades or at the Disney parks. This is actually in major Disney productions, like officially Disney approved major productions that has happened, in which Disney's Ariel was actually played by a woman of color. And I got several examples to go and present to you. Number one being from the national tour of the Broadway show. In there, they actually had an Asian Ariel, which was actually played by Diana Huey. And in this one, yes, she actually did receive some racist attacks, the same kind that, well, maybe not as big, but the same kind of racist attacks that Halle Bailey is facing for playing as Ariel. And apparently during that production, she was actually one of the best things. Like she really nailed it. So from there, we actually did have on record of an official Asian Ariel. But wait, there's more. Have you guys watched Once Upon a Time? Well, then you have witnessed a Hispanic Ariel. This one specifically being I believe her name is Joanna Garcia Swisher. And she actually played Ariel in Once Upon a Time, and she is actually of Spanish descent. She actually has some Hispanic roots in her. So from there, we actually did receive a Hispanic Ariel. But hold on, there is actually more. Very recently, you may remember Disney put on the live television event, the live television special honoring the 30th anniversary of The Little Mermaid, in which we would have some live presentations of beloved musical numbers with other random celebrities playing the characters in the film. And in the role of Ariel, we actually had a Pacific Islander. Specifically, this is actually Auli Cravalho, whom you may know more as the voice of Moana. She actually got the opportunity to play as Ariel in the live television event. And by the way, I just want to mention, as you can probably see here, her skin is a little bit more darker than your usual Caucasian. Maybe not necessarily in the same level of dark as like the light-skinned black tone of Halle Bailey, but still, though, it's noticeable that this Ariel is not white, that we did get a Pacific Islander Ariel. Oh, and by the way, not to mention the fact that on that same special, we actually received a Black Ursula. This one, and specifically right over here, this is Queen Latifah playing as Ursula in the live television special. And yeah, it's not like the TV special was not necessarily that well received, but many people did agree that the best elements in that special was both Ali Cravalho and Queen Latifah, two women of color playing as Ariel and Ursula. And by the way, there is actually one more thing that I want to go and point out. This man right here. For those of you who don't know, this is Dan Haskett, possibly the most underrated character designer in animation. The reason why I'm pointing out Dan Haskett here is because despite the fact that Glenn Keane is the animator of Ariel, Dan Haskett is the man who designed Ariel. The Ariel that we all know and love from the animated feature was actually created by him. And if you go by anti-woke logic, that means that even the original Ariel from the 1989 movie is technically considered woke because she's actually a black man's depiction of a white woman. And from there, you could technically go and make those same kind of stupid arguments of, oh, well, why is it that they didn't hire a white person to draw Ariel? Why is it that they have to give that job to a black man? You know, it's the same kind of set of rules. So as you could see here, it's mainly due to people of color keeping Ariel's legacy to go on. It's not just Jodie Benson, but all these other actresses, regardless of whatever skin color that they may have, whatever origins that they're from, they were able to provide an unforgettable and very credible performance as Ariel. And these women have all proven that it doesn't matter what the color of your skin is, that as long as you're able to provide an unbelievable performance and you have a beautiful voice, then you are qualified to play as Ariel. And having Halle Bailey perform as Ariel really is no different than having a Pacific Islander Ariel, than having a Hispanic Ariel, or having an Asian Ariel. And even if you would see all these different Ariels, hear their beautiful voices, and you're still incapable of seeing beyond the skin color, then yes, that is indeed racism. And not to mention the fact that there are other stupid arguments that people would go and make as well in terms of this. You know, like I've seen people try to describe like, oh, but what about the little ginger girls? What about that? Why can't they see? Oh, another subscriber. Thank you so much. Wreck in the Silence Records. Oh boy, quite a mouthful of a name. But anyways, there's also the stupid argument that people are saying that, oh, childhoods are going to be ruined. What's going to happen to the little ginger girls who can no longer see themselves when they watch The Little Mermaid? What are they going to do? They can watch the original. They can go and put on the 1989 movie and they could watch that. I mean, the DVDs are still available in stores. It's available on Disney Plus. If they want to see themselves in Ariel, they can go and watch it. They can go and watch the original animated film. I mean, the only people who would unironically be concerned about that issue would be those who lack object permanence. That you would see the Little Mermaid remake and somehow completely forget that the original actually exists. And considering the kind of intelligence that we've seen from the far right and from anti-woke people, I would not be surprised that none of them legitimately have any form of object permanence, or that they would be intelligent enough to even have object permanence in general. So honestly, with all these arguments out there, like it really goes to show that really there's no excuse to not have a black Ariel, or there's no excuse, there's no excuse to not have a black actress to come in and actually play as Ariel. There's no way around it. And also, actually, I just thought up of another argument, because I know that there are going to be those people who will bring it up. Is that we're not being racist. We're trying to go and we're actually concerned about it. We want this movie to be good, but Disney is just ruining it with their forced diversity. We're just speaking as fans. We're speaking as real fans that we're not happy with what Disney is doing. That is an argument that I know for a fact is a lie, and it's full of crap. Because when it comes to real Disney fans, when it comes to real Little Mermaid fans, they don't care about race. They don't care about the race of whoever's playing as Ariel. Again, as I pointed out, no matter which race you are, as long as you have a great voice, then you are able to go and play as Ariel. No matter what. This is what all Disney fans know, and what all Little Mermaid fans go. And if they would have an issue with the live action remake, the fact that a black actress would play as Ariel would be not one of them. Not to mention the fact that the grand majority of these people who are calling the Little Mermaid reboot woke or anything like that, it's just a bunch of pathetic grown men, a bunch of highly sensitive grown men with serious self-esteem issues and a lot of self-hatred, whom they go and try to mask their hatred for themselves by watching testosterone dumbass men like Joe Rogan or Andrew Tate. And you're trying to convince me that those people are legitimate Little Mermaid fans that are concerned about the quality of a Disney live action reboot? I mean, even though, and not to mention the fact that it's a Disney live action reboot, we know for a fact that it's not going to be as good as the original. And yet those guys are concerned about the quality of it? Are you freaking kidding me? Absolutely not. Because I can guarantee you right now, real Little Mermaid fans and real Disney fans are not concerned about the skin color of whoever is playing Ariel in the live action remake. And if you're one of those people that are crying out that it's woke or anything like that, you are not a real fan. And that's the whole thing about this entire situation. With whatever argument that they're trying to make, it still does not hide that they're just being racist, that they're only hating it because they're incapable of seeing beyond skin color and are just upset of the fact that it's not a white woman playing as Ariel, down to the point where some people would even desperately go as far, like they are so triggered about seeing a black Ariel that there's even this one mentally challenged individual who would who spend his time onto trying to create some AI technology in order to make the Ariel white. Like, this really goes to show that hate speech enablers have a mental illness. Having racist ideologies really is a very problematic mental disorder. In fact, all anti-woke people have this kind of very problematic disorder. It's completely ridiculous. And the fact is alone, no matter what argument that you are trying to make, no matter what it is, as long as you're if you're the kind of person that would gatekeep people of color from doing something that you perceive that only white people should do, then yes, you are racist. Everyone should be labeling you as racist. Your life should be ruined until you stop making those kinds of arguments, because it is unequivocally racist. In fact, there are only 3 people that would go and make these kinds of arguments against having a black Ariel. It's either trolls that want to cause chaos on the internet, absolute idiots who react before they think, and they would go and be like the kind of reactionary people that would go and just say things that they just heard some rando YouTuber would say, or true blue racists. Real absolute racist people, white supremacists that want to take down white people so that not white people, but want to take down any people of color so that only the master race would reign. It's ridiculous. Honestly, this entire situation really is blown out of proportion, all because of a black mermaid. And if nothing else, let me go and ask you one question. This is going to be the ultimate question that destroys every far-right and anti-woke argument against The Little Mermaid. I just need to go and ask you this question. Why do you care? Why is it that you care so much about this Little Mermaid reboot? Like, why do you care so much about having a black Ariel? I mean, when it comes to this casting, it's not hurting anybody. You know, like, nobody got hurt from this. Nobody died from it. Nobody, like, nobody got fired. Nobody lost any jobs. It's not hurting the economy. In fact, reports actually did come out from the filmmakers in which they actually stated that the reason why they hired Halle Bailey was because she's very talented. The fact that she did win a Grammy Award for her performances, and that, you know, she was actually their first choice, that they really do feel like she is capable of actually performing this job. She's not taking away anybody's job. It's not hurting the economy. It's not hurting people. Like, and really, it's nothing more but a live action reboot. So why do you care? I'm not asking Disney. I'm not asking the filmmakers. I'm asking you specifically. Why does this issue matter so desperately much to you, to the point that you have to go onto social media and be so invested, like really let out your emotions and really just go and attack people, all because there is a black Ariel? It doesn't matter. Seriously, man, it's just a movie. It doesn't, like, really, there's no there's no political agenda behind it. There's no forced diversity aspect. There's no such thing as forced diversity. There's no woke agenda that they're doing. All it is casting a person as a well-known character. That's it. Even though the race may not be the same as it was before, that doesn't necessarily mean that the movie is completely ruined. I mean, you still have the original. That's still going to exist no matter what. So really, there's no logical reason as to why you would have to be so emotionally invested. The only reason why you would care so much would be because the subject of race seems to be an issue that you really care, and that you want to dictate what people of color should do. And that alone makes you racist. And even this entire situation, it's ridiculous how this is all so overblown. And it really shows more and more of how this anti-woke movement is become, like, they're pretty much taking off their masks, where now it shows that it's a hate group. The fact that all these people are saying that, oh, this movie is woke, they hired a woke actress. That, like, when they use woke, you know what they mean. Just switch that with the N-word, and now you got an idea of what they're actually talking about. And it really goes to show that, like, right now, all they're doing with this is just spreading hate speech. And this is a massive example of why all these white nationalist culture war YouTube channels like The Quartering, Geeks Plus Gamers, Clownfish TV, and all other channels that only incels would go and watch, they need to be demonetized. I'm not saying to go and, like, destroy their channels or anything like that. I understand, like, I respect, like, freedom of speech and stuff like that, but they should not be allowed to make a single cent off of anything they do that goes and promotes hate speech. And YouTube should also be heavily condemned for this, because they're the ones that keep on sharing this content. They're the ones that are, the ones that are going around trying to grant the grifters' wishes, trying to turn this into a massive propaganda, and they're the ones that are also capitalizing on it. And YouTube should also be called out for promoting hate speech with what they're doing right here. And this is why, again, honestly, rather it would be Disney or some kind of company to go and stand up to YouTube, tell them to make these people cut it out and force their monetization out of their channels, to make them not earn a single cent until they learn to silence their hate speech and to silence their bigoted politics. It's honestly ridiculous. And again, I've had it with this entire stupid discussion, because it feels like now it's at the point where, like, people need to go and take it so personally, because because people are using it to talk about a very serious subject matter, and it's only going to be it's only going to cause more damage than it would do good. It's honestly ridiculous. And again, like, I want to state myself, like, I'm not excited for this remake, but it's not because of having Halle Bailey play as Ariel. It is indeed possible to not support this movie, but to also support Halle Bailey as Ariel at the same time, if you get what I mean. I'm not excited for it. I don't think this is going to be a great movie, but it is not for the reasons that the anti-woke people would go around and try to say. Like, honestly, I think Halle Bailey could actually do a really good job on it. Maybe she'll actually be the best part of the movie, at the very least. But other than that, though, it's just completely ridiculous. I mean, seriously, these anti-woke people need to learn to keep their freaking politics out of this discussion. It's just a freaking movie. Grow the hell up, man. Whew. Now, I did get that out of my system. So now it's time. I want to go and ask the chat wall, and I would like to go and know from you all, how do you feel about this entire controversy? If you have anything you would like to say and just let out, let me know what you think. Let's see what we got here. I'm not too excited for the new Little Mermaid, but I love Halle Bailey's spin on Ariel. But I just find both hilarious and pathetic that anti-woke dude bros are getting this upset over the color of a fish. I mean, this whole debacle is like a hole in cheese, in that it's not that deep. All in all, Halle Bailey deserves way better. But then again, when it comes to critiquing movies, to quote another fish played by a black actor, a lot of white fish can't do it. That is absolutely true. And one thing that does worry me about this entire controversy, I feel like in the future, like the closer we are to the release date of this feature, which is going to be, I believe, in June, or no, it's the end of May of 2023. You know that these anti-woke people, the next step that they're going to do, they're going to use their Kiwi Farm tactics. They're going to do exactly like what they did with Moses Ingram, who played Reva in Obi-Wan Kenobi, and they're going to unleash their racist attacks on both Disney and on Halle Bailey. You know that people like The Quartering, like Geeks Plus Gamers, and the people at the Daily Wire, they're going to go and encourage to send death threats to Disney and towards Halle Bailey. They're going to go and try to do whatever they can, maybe even like dox some people who've worked on the Little Mermaid movie, like in response of this whole culture war and stuff like that. This is why they need to be called out as soon as possible, that all these anti-woke people are racist before they go and do something even worse. Because you know, all those anti-woke people want to go and, like, worst case scenario, they want to lynch Halle Bailey. So at least stop them before they can do anything else, and call them out that all they're doing is spreading hate speech and not support, and like hating on a black mermaid is indeed racist. So let's see what else we got here. Can you hate Disney live action remakes without being a garbage person? Yes. Does hating the Little Mermaid remake just because of Ariel's race makes you a garbage person? Also yes. As much as I'm glad people are finally starting to turn against these terrible remakes, I wish it didn't come from such an insidious implication. As long as Ariel's hair is red and she can slay part of your world, she could be played by any actress of any race. Exactly. And we've seen that several times before, especially with Diana Huey and with Ali Carvalho. If they can do it, then so can Halle Bailey. Let's see what we got here. I have nothing against Halle Bailey playing Ariel. Based on the teaser trailer and her performance, she could be the best part of The Little Mermaid. People forget once upon a time, Norm Lewis, a black man, played Triton and was perfectly fine. If I may respond to Matt Walsh's so-called science, in the words of J.R.R. Tolkien, newsflash, the genre is called fair fantasy. It's meant to be unrealistic. Exactly, and quite ironic as well, considering that these anti-woke people are also trying to gatekeep people of color to play as like elves. Like they got so triggered when they saw the Lord, the new Lord of the Rings series, and they're only hating on it only because there are people of color playing as elves and stuff like that, and not everyone is white. It's absolutely stupid and completely pathetic. This is why, like, honestly, any opinion from anti-woke people, like, they have no merit and they're not worth listening, because like there is nothing worse that you can be than some anti-woke dude on the internet. It's the most pathetic thing that you could ever be. And plus the fact that, considering that nowadays that jobs are becoming a lot more aware of what you do on social media, Like it's going to be like that kind of attitude is going to be the kind of thing that will ruin people's lives. And you won't see like, honestly, you're going to see more and more anti-woke people in poverty because of their activities on the internet. Let's see. Let us make one thing clear. If you dislike this movie for being yet another live action remake, that's fine. If you dislike it for the casting, that's where we have a problem. And if you try to argue against it with either forced diversity or science, then you might not have heard about whitewashing or the fantasy genre. Honestly, the worst thing about this isn't the casting, it's the design of what looks like Flounder. My God, he was never the same after he got bootlegged. I know what you mean. Oh, that Flounder though. Like I said to Logan last week, I will completely forgive this movie if the one thing they would change is that instead of having a CG Flounder, they would bring back that stupid puppet Flounder from the live televised special. Like, have no explanation. Be the only Muppet in that entire movie, and I'll be completely happy. Oh, let's see what else we got here. I'm not really too excited for the Little Mermaid remake, aside from the fact that Halle Bailey did a great performance as Ariel, but my God, the controversy makes the whole argument really stupid and ridiculous. Seriously, what's the problem of having a black Ariel as the lead? There are previous instances, but those people are honestly not really fans of Disney or the Little Mermaid, and they're just being very racist. Also, Matt Walsh's scientific research is just very silly and stupid. Exactly, man. For them, as long as it sounds smart, they'll be more than happy to use it because they're so desperate of trying to be something that they're not, and that is being intelligent. Oh, let's see. I think I'm going to read just one more comment before we move on to our next story. Two more comments, actually, before we move on. I'm going to be a little generous here. Anyways, I got to be honest here. Halle Bailey looks beautiful as Ariel. Even her singing sounds amazing. This controversy, on the other hand, is just racist and stupid. Seriously, these people need to stop being so white and just look outside of America and respect people of who they really are and what race color they have. Halle Bailey, not to be confused with Halle Berry, really deserves better for this trailer. Even though this movie itself might suck, Halle Bailey deserves a lot of credit for this. Oh, absolutely. Like, honestly, there's a part of me that does wonder, would Disney actually do anything? Would they actually step up their game and tell YouTube to do something? Or would they put out a message saying that these attacks are indeed racist and that you should not be racist? You know, that's one thing, that I'm wondering from all this. Like, will it happen if Disney is going to do something about it? Because it is their movie after all. All right, one more comment to read. I hate these remakes, but I will hate racists and bigots much more. I am never going to see this movie, and this isn't because of the actress. She's clearly talented, and I wish her the very best. Be honest, racist, were you even going to see it to begin with, or do you just want to scream about nonsense because you don't have anything interesting or original takes or anything? Even if your issue is that she's black, which, screw you, then how about this idea? Don't see it. Oh, they never planned to. For them, it's just spreading their propaganda. It's just it really is spreading hate speech without, like, fully displaying that they are spreading hate speech. That's all it is. None of these people legitimately care about the Little Mermaid or anything like that. They just want their white nationalism to rule over. For them, it's nothing more but a culture war, and really, especially for those YouTubers, it's nothing more but a grifting game. And this is exactly why, once again, all anti-woke and culture war YouTube channels must be demonetized, and they should be forced to have their income taken away from them so that they can go and be worried about real issues such as having food on the table and having a roof over their heads. Then at that point, they'll be concerned about real issues right there. Whew! Man, that was a lot out of my system. I feel much better. But anyways, let's now go into our next story, and we're going to go and lighten things up a little bit. And we're going to go and do a little bit of a transition, and we will be talking about different Disney movies, as considering that now we know a lot more about what's going to be coming in Disney's future. Now they have actually went into the specifics into when their movies are going to be coming out. Oh crap, I am so sorry. There's actually one more thing that I completely forgot to go and mention, And that is actually regarding this article from CNN called "A Definitive Rebuttal to Every Racist Little Mermaid Argument." Now, this is something that I highly recommend you go and actually read for yourself and use just in case you see any more of these racist people debating about, oh, we shouldn't have a black Ariel or whatever. It's actually very fascinating. It really goes in depth. And I will admit, I've actually used some of these arguments myself in this podcast. So I highly recommend that you all go and check out this article. It really is worth a read, and it really is worth informing yourself to show that, what these people are doing is indeed racist, and there is no argument against having a black mermaid. But anyways, as I'm talking about, let's go ahead into our second story right over here. And let's talk about the upcoming Disney release dates. Yes, after D23, Disney would go and put out specific release dates onto their new movies, or at least the ones that they have recently announced. And there is a whole bunch of them in which they have switched around release dates, or now we know the new specific release date as to when they are going to be coming out. And the first thing that they have revealed, they might as well just go and have this out of the way, is regarding Rogue Squadron, which is supposed to be the next big Star Wars movie. And it was originally going to be scheduled for December 22nd of next year, but it looks like now there is no release date. They decided to pull it out of their schedule, and right now we don't really know what's happening with it. However, that does not mean that it is completely canceled. They stated here on my source here on Deadline that apparently the production is still in development. They're still making this Rogue Squadron movie. Now we just don't know when it's going to be coming out. So they're still planning on it. They're still trying to figure out what to do with Star Wars' return to the big screen. Anyways, another release date that they have revealed is regarding Next Goal Wins, which is Taika Waititi's soccer comedy. And they already put a release date for April 21st of 2023, which is going to be right at the same time as Evil Dead Rises. And by the way, speaking of the Dead Rising, they also got a brand new release date of the Haunted Mansion reboot, which originally was supposed to be scheduled for March 10th, but now they have actually moved that to August 11th, in which it will be released at the same time as Sony's video game adaptation of Sony's film adaptation of the video game Gran Turismo and Universal's The Last Voyage of the Demeter. And then, of course, well, very predictably, Disney has scheduled for their animated movie Wish to be on American Thanksgiving 2023, specifically on November 22nd. I think it's safe to say that we all knew that was coming. And then next up, there is a Marvel movie. We don't know what this Marvel movie specifically is, but apparently it was originally scheduled for February 16th, but now that has been delayed to September 6th of 2024. Actually, let me reiterate that it was supposed to be for February 16th, 2024, but now it's going to be released on September 6th of 2024. Even mentioning in this article that they're doing so because, well, they did see great success when they did that with Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Meanwhile, we got the Pixar movies, in which we already know that we got Elio that would be released in March, and we got Inside Out 2 that would be released in the summer of 2024. But now they revealed specifically that Elio is going to be coming out on March 1st, 2024, at the same time as Universal's movie with Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt called The Fall Guy. And I am so sorry to report that no, I don't think this is a film adaptation of the video game. You're not going to see you're not going to see Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt on these like big pill-like suits, and they're going to be on big obstacles while you hear like these wacky musics going like, and you're not, you won't hear Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt making like little weird noises like woo, woo. But anyways, going back into the schedules, we also got Inside Out 2, which is officially dated for June 14th, 2024, as expected, considering that Pixar movies are usually released in the middle of June. And then finally, we got the live action remakes of 2024. First up, we got Snow White starring Rachel Zegler and Gal Gadot, in which they scheduled that not far from Ariel, which is going to be released on March 22nd of 2024. And finally, we got Mufasa the Lion King, the prequel to the 2019 Lion King remake, in which that is going to be released on July 5th, 2024, at the same time as Illumination's Despicable Me 4. But wait, hold on, there is more. Because not long afterwards, Sony decided that they want to go and put out some of their own release dates. And the first thing that they have revealed is that we are going to get a brand new Karate Kid movie. Now, they did not necessarily reveal about what this Karate Kid movie is going to be about. They didn't necessarily state if this is going to be like a follow-up or what this is going to be. The most they ever said is that this will be the return of the original Karate Kid franchise. We don't know what the plot line is going to be. We don't even know... oh, excuse me. We don't even know if there is going to be a connection with the Cobra Kai series. All that we know is that we're going to get another Karate Kid movie soon, and that's going to be coming out in 2024. At the same time, Sony also revealed the release dates of other small movies that are like thrillers and horror flicks. Like we got a horror movie from Screen Gems that's coming out on January 6th of next year. We got Missing, which is apparently the next installment of Searching, which that's coming out on February 24th, 2023. And then finally, we got an Adam Driver thriller, 65, which that's coming out on March 10th of next year, which that one actually got moved up because it was originally going to be released on April 28th. But then the big ones that they have revealed is regarding their next Spider-Man movies. Yes, the Spider-Man films from their spin-off films like Venom and Morbius. Apparently those ones are going to be very much delayed. First, you got Kraven the Hunter, which that was supposed to be coming out July 13th of next year. Now that got heavily delayed to October 6th of 2023. At the same time, you got Madam Web, which originally had that October 6th release date. Now that movie ended up getting delayed to February 16th. And as for an untitled Sony Marvel Universe movie, we don't know which one that one is. That is going to be now released to July 12th, 2024. Meanwhile, and this is the last release date announced, is regarding the Garfield animated movie starring Chris Pratt and Samuel L. Jackson. Now, that one was supposed to be released on February 16th, 2024, but considering now that it's Madam Web's release date, that Garfield movie has been moved to the summer, or the beginning of summer, on May 24th, 2024. And that's the announcements of all the release dates that we have so far. It's a lot. And there have been some, I will say, that technically a lot of these, well, we know that, they've already mentioned it at the D23 Expo, and we pretty much have guessed it as well. Like, we are aware of, like, Mufasa the Lion King or Inside Out, they would get those summer releases. Like, that is to be expected, considering that it is very similar to the last time that those movies were released, or at least their predecessors were released. Same thing with Elio. I mean, it picks up, it's kind of like this year, where Turning Red was released in early March, and now Elio is going to go and see the same thing. Although I am surprised about the fact that Snow White would actually be released not long after. So I don't know if there's going to be that much of a conflict. I guess it really does depend on how good Elio is and if it can really be something that could grab people's attention. But I will say the one thing that does stand out for me in terms of the release dates for Disney is actually regarding the Haunted Mansion, the fact that it went from March to August. Now, that right there really does tell me that Disney seems to have a lot more faith in this Mansion movie. The fact that they're taking their, March is still like a pretty solid month to go and release movies. But the fact that they're taking that and now they're going to release it as a summer blockbuster, that is actually a pretty big deal. Especially that's a lot of faith that they have if they want that to go and compete against a Gran Turismo movie or that Universal film, The Last Voyage of the Demeter. It really does sound like Disney has a lot of faith in it. But at the same time, I did think about it and I realized that this release date is not, it's not like fully because of that. Like, yes, that is a factor as well. It does seem like Disney has a lot of faith to it. But at the same time, I see what Disney is doing. And it's not just for the big screen. That decision is not just to have the mansion be released in the summer, but it's also for the Halloween season. Like, really think about this. The thing is that they'll have the mansion be released in August, like it'll have its theatrical run, and then when it is time to go and release that on Disney Plus, that's when Halloween time is going to come in, and that's when they can go and heavily promote this feature that now you can go and watch this new Haunted Mansion movie on Disney Plus. Now, that is a strategy that I will admit is actually pretty smart of them to go and do. Like, really make the most out of it, not just in theaters, because maybe there could be that chance that things might not work out for the movie and it will end up with the same cursed fate as the Eddie Murphy movie back in 2003. But at the very least, they can have a backup plan where maybe it'll find better success when it'll be available on Disney Plus. So that is actually a pretty smart strategy to really take advantage of the Halloween season. So that is very interesting right there. But then you would have the Sony release dates. And I mean, a lot of them, I guess, like, okay, we're getting another Karate Kid, but we don't really know much about what's going to be going on with that. So I guess, like, we'll just have to wait and see with it. But I think the thing that really does stand out is regarding the Spider-Man movies, when those are going to be released. Like, first of all, you got Kraven the Hunter that's going to be heavily delayed, going from January all the way down to October. Now, at that point, many people can go and debate as to why specifically Sony is doing this. Like, maybe it really does need more time to go and improve upon some things. Maybe they got to do some serious reshoots, like, in order to go and improve the story, because they really cannot mess things up. They can't have, like, another incident like they just had with Morbius. So, like, they want to try to go and improve the quality. That could all be possible. But then again, I do understand what they're trying to do, like really try to make the most out of a possible success with their Spider-Man spin-off films. And that's what they're doing right now with Kraven the Hunter, with the fact that they're releasing it at the start of October. Because the big significance with that kind of release date right there is because that's when the Venom movies were also released. Like, October was a very prominent month for both Venom films, like the first one and Let There Be Carnage. And those films found tremendous success at the box office when it was released during that time. In fact, some people could probably argue that one reason as to why Morbius failed was because it kind of broke that Venom tradition and decided to release in a separate time. Like, I think it was it in April that it was released, but like it wasn't released in October, and far less people were interested in watching it there than it is than they would watching Venom. It's kind of like the whole Star Wars mentality, where you would go and set up this tradition where you would release it at a specific time and people would go and watch it at that time, when they know that when that time comes, that's when they would go and watch that movie, which is what they did with Star Wars. And it's also why Solo, a Star Wars story, the fact that it broke that tradition, it became a massive box office bomb, and it completely changed the landscape of how Disney would go and handle Star Wars movies and Star Wars projects in general. So that's why, honestly, I could see why Sony is doing that decision with Kraven the Hunter, so that they can keep that Venom-like tradition of releasing those Spider-Man spin-off films in October than in anywhere else. But they still seem to be experimenting, like the fact that they are going to go and play around with the other ones, like Madam Web being released in February, and you got the Untitled movie coming out either in now coming out in July, which, by the way, I just want to go and specify, technically with this one, they didn't necessarily clarify as to what it is. They didn't say if it's going to be the El Muerto movie with Bad Bunny, or if it's going to be the third Venom film. All we know is that there's going to be one of those movies coming out in July of 2024. Although if I would take a guess, I think maybe it's going to be a Venom. Like, maybe they'll try to break that tradition and make Venom a summer blockbuster. Like, they have enough faith that there's enough of a fan base who would want to watch those Venom movies, and they'll also go and watch it during the summer. Like, pull a Hotel Transylvania, if you will. Like, have the third movie break the release date tradition and release that in the summer and see if that can still work out. And then, of course, like, it did break the chain of events where now with Garfield, that is going to be released in May of 2024. And I mean, say what you will about what's going on with the Garfield movie right now. Like, I know a lot of people freaked out when, like, Chris Pratt was announced that he's going to be Garfield. But honestly, at this point, I feel like the more that I do think about it, the more that I am, like, optimistically curious about it. And it's not necessarily because of the cast or seeing Garfield on the big screen. It's more because of the fact that it is going to be directed by Mark Dindal, the same man that has directed The Emperor's New Groove and Chicken Little. And I mean, yeah, I can look past Chicken Little. Like, I really don't like that movie. I still believe, like, it is so far the worst Disney animated movie. And then, but then you have, like, The Emperor's New Groove, which is one of my favorite Disney movies, and it's been such a long time since we've seen the guy direct anything. I mean, he has been working on things. It's just so much of them have been canceled. So honestly, seeing his return is one thing that I am, like, curious about. And I believe, like, one of the writers of Emperor's New Groove is also going to be helping out on this Garfield movie. So it could result it could result in possibly another New Groove or have that style of comedy return. So honestly, I'm pretty excited. So honestly, it makes me pretty excited, pretty curious, I would say. So I guess overall, we would have to wait and see. But yeah, so far, these are all my thoughts on the new release dates. Some are pretty understandable, and I do understand the business decisions of what they're going with. But honestly, we'll have to wait and see with how that goes. And with that said, I would like to go into the chat wall, and I want to ask you all, what do you think about the new releases that Disney has put out, or that Disney and Sony has put out? Which ones are the ones that you are the most excited about? Which ones are the ones that you are the most cautious about? Let me know what you think on this. Let's see. I never got to lightning round this last week, so here we go. Inside Out 2 sounds like everything I wanted from an Inside Out sequel. Elio sounds fun. Wish looks like the perfect way to celebrate Disney's centennial. Snow White seems pointless, but I like Rachel Zegler. And I'd be excited for The Mansion if it weren't for the problematic cast. Oh, and the Sony announcements are good too, but they'll never match Morbius's madness. Oh, yeah. I think, honestly, the only one that I'm excited from all those Sony announcements there is just Garfield. Everything else, yeah, no. Like, all those other movies can honestly morb themselves. Let's see what else we got. In terms of release dates for Disney, I think releasing Inside Out 2 and Midas Midas, what the fridge? In the summer could help, considering the first films were released in the summer and could find success. As for Sony, I think it's great we're getting a new Karate Kid movie after the success of Cobra Kai. And for the Spider-Man movies, I just hope Sony won't screw this up, because if they do, then people will lose faith in Sony's Spider-Man movies and make it become not profitable. I mean, we're already seeing the first signs with Venom, or no, not with Venom. We're already seeing the first signs with Morbius, so they got a lot to go and pick up from there. Let's see. Regardless of these release dates from Disney and Sony, I was kind of surprised that The Mansion moved from March to August, but now that you mentioned that it will most likely be on Disney Plus next October, it makes sense. Also, as for the Sony Marvel movies like Kraven the Hunter and Madam Web being delayed, I heard that it was because they have more time to work on the movies. Okay, that's fine. That's fair. COVID really screwed up with the visual effects studios and productions. That's mainly why there are some delays. Okay, well, if that is the case, then honestly, that's perfectly understandable. I won't question them from there. I think honestly, that's fine. That's perfectly fair. If that is the reason, like, I'll give Sony a pass if that is the case. Let's see what we got here. For Disney release updates, curious to see Mufasa face against Despicable Me 4. The Mansion movie delay to August could work, and disappointed with Rogue Squadron being removed. For Sony, glad to see another Karate Kid movie going to be made as a fan of the franchise and Cobra Kai. Delays for other Spider-Man films are understandable, and still have to wait to see for Garfield. Okay. Let's see. I think I read that one. What else we got here? What else? So I'm not that much interested in any of these future releases, but I'm more worried about the Disney parks losing a lot of clients, thanks to a worldwide inflation. Well, okay, that's a bit of a different subject. Why bother going to these places if you can't even afford the fuel, home rooms, food tickets, and merch money? Or are they planning to be billionaire-only places? That'll ruin Walt's original vision for sure, and he would quite be adamant of his company's massive purchases these past 40 years. Okay, well, I mean, that's not... like, I understand. Like, what you say definitely does make sense. Like, I do understand, but it's just like... Okay, like, I'm just wondering, it's like, where did this topic come from? Again, you're completely right with what you said. I just don't know where the fridge do we bring that up. All right, I think I'm going to read I'll read two more comments here. My most anticipated films for me between 2023 and 2024. My most anticipated film for me between 2023 and 2024 is Wish. This film would be the most Disney film ever, in my opinion. New animation techniques, Chris Buck and the Frozen crew returning for this, and the new characters like Asha sounds interesting. Chris Buck told me that they still have a lot of work to do. Well, yeah, of course. They still have over a year to go and work on it. I mean, I definitely have faith on those guys. I mean, they've done some really magical work with the Frozen films, and I'm sure they could still make some beautiful magic with Wish. All right, let's see here. I honestly have nothing to say about the story since I have no real interest in what they change in the release dates. In fact, all I can come up with is something that may equal to It's Morven Time. I'm craving for some Craven. Oh, don't worry, Cerulean. Yeah, maybe it's not that interesting of a subject, but trust me, the next one, oh, I'm sure you and many others in the chat wall will have a lot to say. Okay, now, with our next story, I just want to go out and put a massive disclaimer on this. What I'm going to be talking about is only considered to be a rumor. There is nothing confirmed as to this is happening, and even if it would be confirmed that this would be happening, it wouldn't be for another few years. So I'm just saying right now that take this information with a grain of salt, because you never know if the future is going to change, and maybe things will get better, things will get worse. So let's just go and hope for the best on this. But for now, it is worth mentioning, considering that a lot of people on the internet are indeed talking about this, and that is regarding Warner Brothers Discovery. Yep, we're talking about Warner Brothers Discovery again, but specifically, it's regarding this article from The Hollywood Reporter called Warner Brothers Discovery Has Bigger Problems Than Its DC Search. And in this article right over here, it is talking about all the major struggles that Warner Brothers Discovery is currently facing in regards to its DC expanded universe, especially with how things right now with WBD, it's extremely problematic, just filled with controversies, filled with trust issues with filmmakers and other industry people, and especially filled with billions of dollars in debt. Not to mention all the controversies that are only making things worse and are making their stocks and their market cap go like completely down. And even like to this day, the last time I talked about the market cap a few weeks ago, like WBD lost like $20 billion. Like we all know about the controversy with canceling Batgirl despite the fact that it was like 90% finished, or like the entire thing with Ezra Miller, like how WBD is handling its controversies and how they're doing everything they can in order to make Ezra Miller avoid all the consequences to his actions, despite the fact that he is literally a serial criminal. In fact, there was a recent report that actually came out that apparently all of the crimes that Ezra Miller committed and all of his legal troubles, they have completely disappeared. Apparently, they have all been completely paid off, and now Ezra Miller is just scot-free and doesn't have to worry about the law or being a criminal in the eyes of law enforcement. So that's unfortunately something that is happening, and so far, it looks like it's making WBD and Ezra Miller's PR even worse than it has ever been before. Like, really, they're trying to solve the problem by ruining it even further. But anyways, yeah, this article pretty much talks about the big issues that WBD is facing, even like mentioning their big plans of what they want to do, of have a 10-year plan with the DC movies and try to find their own Kevin Feige. And they momentarily had one with Dan Lin, but the producer decided to go and bail out a few weeks later. But this is not why people are talking about this article specifically. This is not the reason. There is also another element that this article has talked about, and it's in regards to a very dark prediction. Like, this is actually something that is really sounding the alarms for people. Like, they all read that and they all just went. So what I'm talking about is actually down in this specific section. This paragraph right over here has scared many people on the internet. So let me go and read you here from my source on The Hollywood Reporter. It states, given the company's daunting challenges, it has become accepted wisdom at the highest level of the industry that another deal waits in the wings for Warner Brothers Discovery. For reasons related to the complicated structure of that merger, no negotiations can happen until April of 2024. So that's the little piece of good news right there. But at that point, many industry observers believe that Comcast's Brian Roberts will make a long-awaited move, looking to combine NBCUniversal and Warner Brothers Discovery. And from there, this article would go and discuss about the possibility of why they would want to go and do it, and what would be the benefits and the drawbacks of why this kind of merger could possibly happen, despite the fact that maybe there could be a possibility that maybe it won't happen due to many legal issues. Now, again, this is going to be something I will be repeating a few times here, that there is indeed a chance that this will not happen. For now, all of these are nothing more but speculations and rumors, and that's why you need to go and take it with a grain of salt, because you never know in the future that maybe, just maybe, the case for Warner Brothers Discovery could actually get better from here, and that maybe they will find a way to really get themselves out of the hole and really get themselves out of all the troubles that they have put themselves into. But yeah, honestly, looking into this, could there actually be, I'm just going to say this right now, could there legitimately be a chance that Warner Brothers Discovery could actually find itself in a merger with NBCUniversal under Comcast? And to that, I'd say, I don't know. Because, yeah, that really is an aspect in which, could really go and break down a lot of different antitrust rules. Before even that would happen, it would take quite some time for antitrust lawyers and for a lot of federal representatives to step in and to really examine if this is something that could even be okay to do in the first place and would not seem like something that would be a massive monopoly. So, honestly, the chances of that could actually be pretty questionable. And if it would happen or if it would not, I don't know. But would I believe in the fact that Comcast would be interested in making a merger with Warner Brothers Discovery? Oh, absolutely. I think they indeed would. And I would not be surprised if right now Comcast and Brian Roberts are currently just waiting on the side until they can go and pull off their move. That once April 2024 comes, that they're going to go and start actually making some kind of negotiation with Warner Brothers Discovery in order to actually have that acquisition and to make a fusion with NBC Universal. You got to keep in mind that while Disney was trying to prepare to buy out 21st Century Fox, its biggest competitor was NBC Universal. Like, Disney was ready to go and make that deal, but then suddenly Comcast came in and they wanted to do their deal to go and buy out Fox, but then Disney ultimately stepped in to make an even bigger deal, one that like Comcast would never go and actually spend their money on. And that's how Disney ultimately acquired NBC Universal for ultimately, I believe, $72 billion. So with Comcast, they still have a whole bunch of billions of dollars that they could spare to make this kind of acquisition. So we have seen in the past that Comcast is interested in making this type of move. And if they would go and see that Warner Brothers Discovery would be available, then hell yeah, they would be more than happy to go and get that. Especially if it would mean to go and really boost up the competition in the streaming wars. Because even in this article right here, it actually does mention that apparently, well, Peacock is not a fan favorite in terms of streaming favorites. There's even one quote that states here, that deal would face some interesting antitrust issues, but would give his company scale and a viable streaming service. Obviously, Peacock sucks, says one exec with knowledge of both companies. There are some good synergies. I'm sure Roberts is licking his chops because the WBD stocks is so low. And I think that's Zaxlov's endgame. Get the place sold. And from there it would go and mention about how the CEO of NBC Universal, along with Brian Roberts, met up with Zaslav before, but it could be just for fun and stuff like that. So yeah, like these two people already know each other, and we know how NBC Universal would have some, or how Comcast would have some great interest in acquiring Warner Brothers Discovery, not only to really go and boost up their streaming platform so that they can actually become a legitimate competitor against Netflix and Amazon and Disney Plus, that hopefully they could go and pull off their version of the Disney Fox deal, and that they can end up having their platform become even bigger and better with their major fusion of Peacock, HBO Max, and Discovery. Like all of those three just combine into one, into this mega platform that they could really go and seriously compete against all those other major platforms. And I would even say, like, personally, in terms of an animation perspective, it's also very frightening, because the thing is, with Warner Brothers Discovery, they already own a massive collection of animated properties. Like, their collection that they have is huge. And if Comcast would go and end up buying that entire collection, then they could end up having a library that could debatably be on par or even bigger than what Disney has right now. Like, keep in mind, when it comes to Universal and their animation collection, right now, they already own the classic Walter Lantz cartoons like Woody Woodpecker, some of the older movies released by Universal, such as The Land Before Time, An American Tail, Balto, and several others. And then you also got the entire collection of Illumination movies, which is right now the most profitable animation studio in the business right now. And then you also have the entire collection of DreamWorks Animation, all of those movies, all of those TV shows, and all of those properties that they own. Like, that's already a huge set in itself. And if they would go and merge with Warner Brothers Discovery, then they would add a ton more. Like, that list would be completely expanded, because then they would own the Looney Tunes, they would own the classic MGM cartoons, they would go and own Cartoon Network, Adult Swim. They would have the entire library of different Warner Brothers animated movies like Iron Giant, Osmosis Jones, the Lego movies, and many, many more. they would have all the DC properties, and they would have the entire Hanna-Barbera collection. All that under one umbrella is massive, and I would even say overwhelming from an animation perspective. But and keep in mind also, that's just for animation. That's just for cartoons. Like, I don't even get me started on all the other major properties that Warner Brothers already owns and that they can go and fuse with Universal. That would be like, it would become absolutely ridiculous. But that's not the main thing that really worries me if this merger does happen. That's not the thing that I feel like would be the scariest part. Because the one thing that worries me the most, if this does happen, is that if we do see NBCUniversal merge with Warner Brothers Discovery, then it's going to set a brand new, dangerous standard in the entertainment industry. Like, it's one thing for Disney to go and acquire Fox. Like, it was already insane that Rupert Murdoch was willing to go and sell the grand majority of his company to the Walt Disney Company so that Disney could go and make that massive merger and that big combination in order to really boost up their entertainment company. But when two companies are going to do the same thing, like if you see another studio do the exact same thing where you see Comcast pulling the same move as Disney did by acquiring one of their biggest competitors and try to mix that with their entertainment company that they already own, that's going to set a brand new precedence. That's going to set a brand new standard that would put so much pressure onto other companies that if they want to go and catch up, they have to go and follow suit and make their own acquisitions. Like, what's going to be worrisome is that soon after that merger, we're going to see other companies like Apple or Paramount that they're going to be pressured to go and try to make their acquisitions, that they're going to find another competitor and they're going to try to go and acquire them so that they could go and mix with that studio, and they're going to go and pass that off as an excuse to go and bolster their streaming platform. It's like, oh, well, you know, we decided we're going to go and purchase Lionsgate because we want to really go and improve our lineup on Paramount Plus or on Apple TV Plus. Like, they could legit do that, and that would be they would actually use that as the reason as to why they want to go and make that acquisition. Or another thing you would see is just mergers spontaneously happen. Like, they would independently, like the companies would independently agree to combine their forces, like do some kind of like Dragon Ball fusion dance where they would go and like fuse together so that they could stay in the entertainment competition. Because from there, like maybe you'll see like Sony Pictures and Netflix where they're going to combine together in order to make their company bigger, in order to make their stocks even greater than they were before, and to go and be a legitimate competitor so that they could stay on battle against like Disney and Comcast and all those other major companies. Like, that's the big thing that honestly scares me if that does happen, is that if NBCUniversal merges with Warner Brothers Discovery, then it will certainly not be the last time that we will hear about these mergers, and they will become more and more common to the point where the entertainment industry will be a massive battle of the titans with only a handful of competitors, with only just like a few that you could legitimately only count with your fingers, or maybe you could count with just one hand. Like, that's the thing that really does worry me. But again, this is all speculation. This is all just rumors so far, and there is no confirmation as of yet if they're legitimately gonna go and do it. As this article does state, again, nothing can happen until April of 2024. So that still leaves like around a year and a half for Warner Brothers Discovery to do something in order to really go and improve themselves. And you never know. Yeah, right now it feels like, you know, it really does seem like doom and gloom when it comes to Warner Brothers Discovery, and the way that David Zaslav is handling it is an absolute joke. It looks like an absolute mess. But you never know if things can legitimately improve. You never know if in 2023, maybe we will see things get so much better and we'll see the profits and we'll see the stock numbers and the market cap of Warner Brothers Discovery significantly increase to the point that they could still stand well on their own 2 feet, and that maybe they do have they do have like some kind of coherent plan, or they got like a pretty solid plan of what they want to do with the DC movies, with their own Kevin Feige, and with the 10-year plan that they really want to do. You never know with what the future can hold. Like, maybe some people can say that all I'm doing is wishful thinking, but so far, you never know with what's going to happen. Maybe things will be better, maybe things will be worse. But right now, with what this article here is suggesting, like right now, it's just making the case even scarier for Warner Brothers Discovery, where it really feels like now there's just pressure to see them improve, that you want to see things do better. You want to see you want to see David Zaslav actually be competent for the first time in his life. Because right now, if things do not get better with Warner Brothers Discovery, then it's only going to make things worse, not just for the company itself, but for the entire entertainment industry. But again, these are just rumors. These are just speculations. Maybe I could be completely wrong with everything I said, but honestly, it's just something that we will wait and see. So with that said, I would like to go into the chat wall, and I want to ask you all, how do you feel about the possibility of seeing NBCUniversal merge with Warner Brothers Discovery? Do you think it's going to happen? How do you feel about these rumors now merging up? Let me know what you think. Let's see, what do we have here? There we go. One comment that I want to really read from is from King Cerulean. Like, considering you didn't have much interest in the last story, I'm sure now you got something to say, my dude. I want to know what you think, especially. Let's see now. After the Disney Fox merger, I'm pretty much come to the conclusion that company mergers suck. Hearing that Comcast could buy Warner Brothers Discovery, that is something I don't want to happen. If it did, then Warner Brothers would just be heavily reduced to just a property machine, just like how 20th Century Fox was reduced to only one once Disney bought them for billions of dollars. That's my biggest fear if this merger does happen, and I am praying to God that it won't. Please, WBD, get your crap together. Let's see now. Even though it is a rumor, but if the merger does come out to be true and the merger does happen in the future, then WB would no longer run as an independent studio. If WBD gets worse and down to 4 major studios, Disney, Universal, Paramount, and Sony. I see Universal winning for more theme park rides, animation content, and franchises, but losing more on jobs, layoffs, film divisions, division losses like New Line Cinema, paying on more debt, and worse, WB could get shut down, and I'll be worried if it does happen. Yeah, and that's the thing here, is that it really does feel like, okay, you could see all the reasons why Comcast would want to do it, and they're the only ones that would really win in this case, whereas WBD, on the other hand, they'll just end up being reduced to a division. And that's something I don't think many people really want to see, because that would be the true, that would be one of Hollywood's biggest downfalls of all time. Let's see. This is incredibly problematic and could call the end for creativity. To say this is outright dangerous is an understatement. However, could this also be the push that causes artists to go out on their own and form their own companies again, like when filmmakers left Chicago in the 1910s to make films without Edison or Seig's consent, or in the 60s when smaller budget studios became more popular and result of big budget fatigue? Oh boy, I mean, yeah, I know I stated that there is a possibility that we would see a massive change in the entertainment industry, but I don't know if that would be enough to have the general public suddenly lose interest in mainstream feature films. Like, no matter what, if it's something that people want to see, especially if it's like from big name franchises like DC or Harry Potter or the Looney Tunes or whatever, they're still going to go and give them their money to go and watch it. So I don't know if it would make that big of a change where the general public would go and make a massive revolt against big companies like Disney and Universal and stuff. Let's see here. Personally, I would be surprised and not surprised if NBCUniversal would merge with Warner Brothers Discovery. With how things are going so bad to the point where it feels like they can't stay afloat without another company buying them out, especially with the major debt they are in now. Because I'm going to say this, if Black Adam's flops or underperforms next month, then Warner Brothers Discovery is going to be even more screwed and lose more money. Oh yeah, especially with the fact that right now there's only like 2 movies left that that WBD is releasing this year. And the only big one that they have left coming soon is Black Adam. And if that one doesn't do that well, if that one isn't so hot, then Warner Brothers is in serious trouble, and they would be in trouble much sooner than they could ever expect. Let's see now. As a Universal fanatic, I am so excited that there could be a good chance of Universal acquiring Warner Brothers. What? I believe that with WB and Universal and maybe Paramount, if they can buy them too. Oh my God, dude, calm down. I hope they can actually get into a giant powerhouse and they can finally beat Disney. I am hoping that this happens so poor Universal doesn't have to pay millions a year for Harry Potter park rights. I wish Fox went well. Comcast, honestly though, Disney really hates me. Comcast thought Disney Scrat Tails thoughts. What? Okay, is this a joke here, dude? Like, are you trolling here? Like, because you're pretty much asking for Universal to have a freaking monopoly in the entertainment industry. It's like, oh boy, they're buying Warner Brothers. Oh, I sure do hope they're also gonna buy Paramount as well. It's like, what? I'm just reading this and I was like, what? Oh boy, I guess like, you'll have opinions of all sorts, and I guess you'll have your pro Universal Monopoly fans out there. Hold on a sec. I think I saw one comment I just gotta read. I saw it. Yep. Oh boy, I see it here, King. Let me know what you think, my dude. Oh, you got something to say for sure. Let me see here. Oh boy, yet another Warner Brothers Discovery news story. It's not like we had one of those in a while now, but if Warner Brothers is indeed in so much danger that they have no choice but to merge with Comcast, that is pretty damn scary. With all of those things that could happen, like layoffs, less creativity for artists, and so much more, company mergers can be very harmful in a lot of ways. Let's just hope that these are indeed rumors, that Warner Brothers can find their anime redemption arc. Yeah, let's hope, man. Let's hope. And I think I'll read one more story before we go. Yeah, I'll go here. It's too early to say, but I do not think that Comcast is going to acquire WB Discovery and merge with NBCUniversal. If they brought the company, then it would be more problems for the studios and collaborations like NBCUniversal already have joint venues with Paramount for streaming service Sky Showtime that is launching for parts of Europe this year. Yeah, I mean, of course, like with a massive merger like this, of course, there's going to be a lot of problems, but ultimately, let's just see what happens. For now, again, these are only rumors, and if anything does happen, then we'll have to wait until 2024 to see if those rumors are true or not. Okay, now moving on to our next story, we got something very interesting because this is actually something that is happening today, or has had happen today, or at least by the time that I am recording this. Because one thing that is very interesting to note is that today is Queen Elizabeth II's funeral. It is a major moment where the majority of television stations would go and air the Queen's funeral, and we see all the world leaders and the royal family and so many important people all coming together to pay their respects and their last wishes to Queen Elizabeth II. However, like I said before, it's only the majority of TV stations that are showing the Queen's funeral. Not everyone is actually showing it, though, because some had something else in mind. Because in the UK, you can actually have the option to either watch the Queen's funeral or you can watch the Emoji Movie. Yes, this is actually a thing that has happened, specifically in regards to the UK TV station Channel 5, where they decided instead of showing the Queen's funeral, they would go and show a bunch of kids' movies, one of which being Sony Pictures Animation's The Emoji Movie, as well as other ones that did follow suit, including Stuart Little and Ice Age. Now, this is a very significant moment that a lot of people have very much pointed out as like kind of a crazy moment in history, where there is a time where during like Queen Elizabeth II's funeral, there was a moment where you can actually choose to either watch that or you could legitimately choose the Emoji Movie. And everybody is just pointing out like how crazy that legitimately sounds. And of course, with this comes a lot of controversy, and there are some people that are either pretty cool with it or they would have a lot of or they would be very upset. Like some people would go and accuse Channel 5 of being extremely disrespectful and being highly ignorant about a significant moment in our modern history about the passing of Queen Elizabeth, and that they're not following like every other channel like Sky and BBC to show the Queen's funeral or to show something related to the Queen. But then on the other hand, there are some people that are for it and are actually pretty cool with it. You know, that they're perfectly fine, and at least, you know, they're thankful that at least someone is providing people with other options to watch instead of the Queen's funeral. Like if ever they're bored with it, then they can have the choice to watch something like the Emoji Movie, because hey, I mean, when you're staring at a funeral for so long, like sometimes you might want to go and be interested in watching someone else, especially if it's for someone that you don't personally know. But either way, it did cause a lot of reactions on Twitter and a lot of pretty funny quips at the same time. Where there are some people like just like freaked out about it. Like one person called Isaac on Twitter stated, "No way every channel is showing the funeral and Channel 5 is showing the Emoji Movie." And then there is another one, someone saying, this is from Joe, by the way, saying, "It is a bit of an emotional watch and there will never be anything quite like this again. It is so unique and so culturally significant. Saying that, I do hope they make a sequel to the Emoji Movie." Or there's another one we got from Dave. "Can't believe we are finally here. It's going to be such a tough watch. Good luck everyone getting through the Emoji Movie on Channel 5 this morning." Or there's also one, this one especially from Lucia Keskin. This is probably my personal favorite, and I got to show you the picture that comes with it. So Lucia states here, as Her Majesty is laid to rest, the nation pauses with utmost sorrow to pay respects by watching the Emoji Movie on Channel 5. And here you see like all the channels like BBC, ITV, Sky, all showing the funeral of Queen Elizabeth II. And then you got Channel 4 showing all the specials related to the Queen, like Her Majesty the Queen and A Queen is Crowned. And then you got Channel 5 sticking out like a freaking sore thumb where they're showing the Emoji Movie. So hey, at least you got the options there. Oh boy. Now, let me just go and start this off by saying that, of course, if you guys know me, I think it's safe to say, and I'll say this in a generous way, I am not a fan of the Emoji Movie. This might sound like an extreme statement, but I honestly do believe it is so far the worst animated film ever created by a mainstream animation studio. It really is such a soulless and corporately manufactured feature that it really is everything that people hate in mainstream animated films, all fused into one movie. Like, it really is that bad. And I still do stand, like, not only is it, like, again, not only is it the worst animated film of that year in 2017, it's also Sony Animation's worst movie they have ever created. It's also the worst movie of the 2010 decade. And again, the worst animated film from the worst animated film ever from a mainstream animation studio. So I just want to get that out of the way. But in regards to the Queen, honestly, with the whole thing that's going on with her passing and stuff like that, I mean, yes, may the Queen, of course, rest in peace. And she did live quite a full life. Like, she passed away at the age of 96 years old. And I mean, she literally became the Queen of England. I mean, what more? Like, you cannot ask for a better life than that. But still, though, I couldn't care less about the freaking royal family. Like, this could probably be the most controversial part of this episode, but honestly, I'm just tired of the freaking royal family, especially as someone living in a Commonwealth country, like, considering that Canada is part of the Commonwealth. Like, honestly, for me, the royal family is just nothing more but just a rich white family that the media is just obsessed about and just has to tell us about all the gossip about their regular lives that has nothing to do with me, that literally what they do has nothing with, like, how that would impact my life. In fact, the thing is, like, what I'm upset about with the Commonwealth and why I'm personally against it is because of the fact that we're paying our taxes for literally nothing. Like, we're paying our we're paying our taxes and we're giving it to the royal family where they do nothing for us in return. Like, we're literally paying our taxes so that the royal family can live their utmost lavish lifestyle. Like, for those of you who don't understand the Commonwealth, imagine if in the United States, you have to pay taxes for the existence of the Kardashians. That's how the Commonwealth is. It's it's pretty much paying money to rich white people just because, considering that they have since they're descendants of colonizers and that they took over certain countries in the name of Britain. Like, it's just ridiculous, honestly. I feel like that money would be much better spent somewhere else. So you could probably imagine I could not really care that much. Like, I'll just say rest in peace, and I want to move on with my life. I got more important things to do than watching a freaking funeral. And honestly, as crazy as this may sound, I understand what Channel 5 is doing, and I do support what they're presenting. Like, even if it's the Emoji Movie, I'm actually cool with it. It's perfectly understandable why they would go and put that on, because I can imagine for people in Britain, like, not everyone is going to really spend all day just sitting there and watch the Queen's funeral. They're not going to go and sit there and just, like, literally watch for hours on end, regardless of the historical significance of it. They're not going to sit there and watch a bunch of rich white people be sad and mopey for, like, for literally all day long. They gotta watch something else. Like, sometimes they want to go and have a bit of a change of tune, and if there's another channel that would go and offer something like the Emoji Movie, then you know what, fine, I'll take it. I mean, like, imagine if you're gonna ask me to sit there for hours to watch the funeral, which is going at a snail's pace, and you see all these people just be sad, honoring the Queen of England. Honestly, I'm at the point where, like, honestly, I would not care, and I would be desperate for other forms of entertainment. Something to make, something at least to make me laugh, something to give me something, like, positive to look at. And if it would be the Emoji Movie, you know what? That's fine. And especially, the biggest reason why I'm cool with it and why I support it is because it's mainly for kids. Kids, more than anyone else, they're not going to understand the historical significance of what they're witnessing. They're not going to understand, like, the big importance about Queen Elizabeth II. And for them, they want to do something else. Like, right now, they don't have any school right now. Like, all businesses apparently in the UK are currently closed, including the ones that are, like, in need, like hospitals and, like, food providers and all that kind of stuff. Like, even all the essential workers are not even working, all because they must pay their respects to Queen Elizabeth II. And the kids are not like, yeah, maybe the kids are going to do that for a little bit, but they're not going to do that for so long. So that's why, honestly, I feel like it's a great thing of what Channel 5 is doing, because at least for them, they'll have something where they won't end up becoming like so restless. Like, I mean, could you imagine trying to make a kid watch a funeral for someone that they don't know or don't necessarily care about for hours on end? That is legit insanity. It is such an impossible mission. So at the very least, at least like by putting up something like the Emoji Movie or Stuart Little or Ice Age, they can have something entertaining. At least like, the fact that they have to, at least they'll have a reason to stay at home. At least they'll have something to do. They won't be stuck they won't be stuck staring at the TV watching like a boring funeral. So at least it's more for them. In fact, I think there was a quote here, or at least another Twitter user actually described it very well. It's actually right here from a guy named Tom on Twitter, states, "Really don't understand the criticism of Channel 5 for showing the Emoji Movie, Stuart Little, etc. during the Queen's funeral. What are kids and families who don't have paid TV/streaming supposed to do otherwise? Sit and watch white people in suits look overly sad for 6 hours? Exactly. It's for them. It's for them to actually have something. Like, I understand the weirdness of the fact that they're taking, they're showing the Emoji Movie during this historically significant time, but still, at least it's something. And controversially, I would even say at least the Emoji Movie did something for our society much more than the royal family. What? but anyways, the thing is, I completely get it. Like, yeah, I'm personally not a fan of the Emoji Movie, of course, but I understand what Channel 5 is doing, is to give other options for kids to go and watch. And like, regardless of what it is, freaking the Emoji Movie, or even if they put up a masterpiece like Spider-Verse or something like that, at least it is something different. At least it's not the funeral that they have to literally put in all day, and that the country is forcing its people to go and watch because God save the Queen, we must respect the Queen, and all that kind of crap. So honestly, for me, like, I completely get it. And honestly, I support Channel 5 for actually doing this, because really, like, we live in an age where, like, having a monarchy should not matter, especially for a first world country like the United Kingdom. They don't need a royal family. They don't need a queen or a king anymore. Like, honestly, that system has been dead decades ago. I would even say maybe centuries ago. We don't need anything more. We don't need a freaking monarchy, okay? Like, the royal family are nothing more but just rich white people. Nothing else. Okay, what, like, yeah, maybe they've done some great charities and great charitable work in the past. Like, yeah, I know there are scandals of their racism. Not everyone in there is Princess Diana or anything. But still, though, honestly, I just really don't care. And even for me, yes, I would be one of those people who would much rather watch the Emoji Movie than the Queen's funeral. I don't care what controversy may cause from my statements here. But honestly, at least it will provide me some form of entertainment. At least it will do something to entertain compared to the Queen's funeral. All right, so with all that said, I would like to go into the chat wall, and I want to know what you guys think. What do you think about Channel 5 showing films like the Emoji Movie instead of the Queen's funeral? Do you guys agree with Channel 5's decision? Do you support with what they're doing, showing an alternative instead of the Queen's funeral? Or do you feel like Channel 5 is being extremely disrespectful to what is happening right now with the Queen and in this historical event? Let me know what you think. Let's see now. Here's my take on the Emoji Movie. I hate it. The story was lazy and predictable. The animation is just butt-ass ugly. The characters are either bland or just flat-out douches. The advertising is just unwatchable. The comedy is just insufferable. And the voice actors sound like they didn't want to be there. However, I will say it is pretty understandable. So good on Channel 5. Exactly, man. Exactly. It's all understandable. I honestly just love how most UK channels at the time are all, it's time to say farewell to our beloved queen. She had a good run and lived a long life. And then there's Channel 5 that's all, hey everybody, oi everybody, we got the Emoji Movie. We're all gonna get laid. I'm not gonna act like the Emoji Movie is a good movie. It's not. It's a really stupid movie, but hey, I can't deny this is the funniest thing to come out of it. Exactly, like, this is honestly the kind of story that really is worth talking about in AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. It's just a crazy moment related to animation where you got one UK channel where instead of showing the Queen's funeral, it's time to put up the Emoji Movie. Come on, everybody, let's go and dance. Honor the Queen by doing the Emoji Pop. Oh my god. Remember that stupid dance they tried to do? Oh my god. Oh, and that's just one of the many cringy things of that movie. Let's see what we got here. Rest in peace, Queen Elizabeth II. As you lay to rest for your many years of long and questionable existence, we entire world pause their existent life, school, and work and wish that you'll live a little bit longer for you to watch the Emoji Movie on Channel 5. I support the whole thing of why Channel 5 did it for the kids, even if it's one of the worst movies in history. But hey, if it was Morbius instead of the Emoji Movie, the UK would stop watching the funeral and watch a masterpiece of a new Marvel movie. Yes, because nothing says more to pay respects to the Queen Elizabeth than to go morb. The UK is now morbing during the Queen's funeral this morning. Oh boy. Oh, what else do we have here? What else? Let's see. I'm conflicted. I honestly understand why Channel 5 did this, so the way that the Queen's funeral wouldn't be on every channel, but out of all movies, why would they air the Emoji Movie, one of the worst animated films ever made? If it's a better animated film, I would be for it. I would honestly much rather watch the Queen's funeral than torture myself by watching the Emoji Movie. Well, I mean, in Channel 5's defense, like I said before, it wasn't just the Emoji Movie. They also showed Stuart Little and Ice Age. So, I mean, they did provide options. Let's see now. Oh, here's another one. Out of all the movies that Channel 5 would want to air during the time when the Queen's funeral, they decided to play the Emoji Movie. I did not see that coming. We all know that the Emoji Movie is a hot garbage movie, but I understand what they were doing. I know the Queen's death was sad, but no one wants to watch over 6 hours of sadness, so you got at least to entertain people like kids so they can have somewhat of a good time. I don't care much out of it, but it's funny to see that movie aired. Oh yeah, no, honestly, if there is one movie that they should have aired instead of the Emoji Movie, if they had to make that change, they had to put on Megamind. They really should have put Megamind. Imagine you got the one UK channel where literally during the Queen's funeral, you actually have the one scene where you got who was it? Like, you got Jonah Hill's character coming in and he says, "And there's no Queen of England." Imagine a television literally saying, like, a television in the UK literally telling people that there is no such thing as the Queen of England. Yes, Titan, that's exactly who I meant. Yes, oh my god. That would have been so perfect right there. Oh my god. I gotta read one more comment before we move on to our final story. Let's see. Okay, I'm gonna have to side with Channel 5 in this case, but why the Emoji Movie? Show them Encanto, or Wallace and Gromit, or even the Ice Age sequels. Anyways, the family Madrigals are my royal family in my opinion. Lol, they taught me how to love my family. That's very nice. But hey, honestly, oh my god, let me just say, chat wall, you guys are amazing. Oh my god, the stuff that you've given me. This is what AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast is made for, man. It's stuff like this, and I'm freaking loving it. Oh man. Oh man, I love these kinds of stories. I just love it when you see cartoons and craziness and real world events combining together to create a beautiful piece of madness. That's beautiful. Oh, this is what AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast is all about, everybody. And now, with all that said, it is now time that we shall go and conclude all this with the grand finale. And with this finale, you'd think that I'm done with all these lists of announcements. You'd think that after last week with the D23 Expo that I would be done with all these big announcements. But oh no. This is actually completely different. What I'm going to do is I'm going to keep on going with the announcements, but this won't be from Disney. Instead, we're going to be talking about Nintendo. Yes, specifically we're talking about Nintendo Direct, which actually happened a few days after the weekend of the D23 Expo. Now, by the way, it is worth mentioning that PlayStation also had their Direct called State of Play, and they made their little list of announcements, including Tekken 8, a new trailer for God of War Ragnarok, and a bunch of samurai games, all of which are highly anticipated. But I'm going to be focusing more on what we got here with this Nintendo Direct. So we got a big list of announcements, so I'm going to be reading from my source here on IGN, starting with Endless Dungeon, in which that game apparently is going to be coming out next year in 2023. Then afterwards, we got a new Just Dance game, in which it is called Just Dance 2023 Edition, in which that's going to be coming out this November, specifically November 22nd. Then we got a new workout game called Fitness Boxing, all themed to Fist of the North Star, which that's going to be coming out in March of next year. And then we got a multiplayer game called Oddballers, actually a party game that you could play up to 6 players, in which that's going to be coming out in 2023. And then we got a new indie horror game set in an art gallery called IB, in which that one is actually going to be coming soon. Then following afterwards, we got Factorio, a game in which you are going to be in a alien planet, and there's nothing really much to do, but you got to go and create some civilization once again. And so you got to go and build factories, you got to go and work with others in order to really build up your community and your big factory so that the planet can now be livable. And that game is going to be coming out this October 28th. And by the way, may I add that apparently this is going to be the closest thing we will ever get to a Lightyear video game. Then following afterwards, we got the game Radiant Silvergun. The classic arcade game is now going to be coming to the Switch. Actually, it did come to the Switch. It is now available today. And then you also got another game which is out right now called Various Day Life, a new immersive RPG, which was originally an iOS game in 2019, but now you can play it on the Switch right now. Then following afterwards, we got a brand new Rune Factory game, specifically a remake of the 2009 Japanese Nintendo DS game is now going to be coming to the Nintendo Switch next year. And on top of that, they have even announced that there is also going to be a brand new Rune Factory game that is also going to be coming out. Then following afterwards, we have a confirmation that the SpongeBob SquarePants game, The Cosmic Shake, is going to be coming to the Switch in 2023. And then we have a new game called Master Detective Archives Rain Code, which is actually brought to us by the creators of Danganronpa. And that game is actually going to be coming out on the Switch on spring of 2023. And then we got a remake of Tales of Symphonia, based on the classic GameCube game, which that's going to be coming to the Switch in 2023. Then following afterwards, we got a new installment of the Atelier Ryza game, Atelier Ryza 3, Alchemist of the End and Secret Key, in which that's going to be coming out to the Switch on February 24th of next year. Then we got Front Mission, the first and second game that's coming to the Switch. Specifically, Front Mission First Remake is coming to the Switch in November, and Front Mission 2 Remake will be coming in 2023. And even mention that there will indeed be Front Mission 3 that will be coming to the Switch as well. Then we also got a Kung Fu action game called Sifu that's coming to the Switch on November 8th. And then we got the critically acclaimed multiplayer game It Takes Two, in which that one is going to be coming to the Switch this November, specifically on November 4th. Then following afterwards, we got a Zelda game. Well, not necessarily a Zelda game. This is actually Tunic, a Zelda-inspired game, which promises to be a really, really challenging action-adventure, which that is actually going to be coming around sometime next week on September 27th. Then coming up next, we also got a game that I would honestly be way too scared to play, Fatal Frame Mask of the Lunar Eclipse, which is actually a remake of the Japanese Wii game in 2008, in which that game is actually going to be coming out in 2023. I'm sure it's going to be great, but I certainly ain't going to be playing it. It's way too freaking scary. Next up, actually for the next ones, let me just clear my throat for a second. Nintendo Direct has farm games. E-I-E-I-O, and on Direct has Harvestella, E-I-E-I-O, and Fae Farm 2, and Harvest Moon, A Wonderful Life. Oh, did I forget to mention Rune 3 would also count in this? Nintendo Direct has farm games, E-I-E-I-O. Yes, that was the big theme of Nintendo Direct. More than ever, there seems to be so many freaking so many godforsaken farm games announced one after another. Just like all these farm games, like, hey, here's a new farm game. Oh, look at this, a farm game. Oh, and guess what? A farm game. So yeah, first of all, we got Harvestella, which a new Square Enix Harvest game, which that's coming out November 4th. And then afterwards, we got Fae Farming, which is an RPG farming game, which that's coming out later, I guess. And then we got a new Harvest Moon game called A Wonderful Life, in which that's going to be coming out in the summer of 2023, which, by the way, apparently... Well, okay, this is actually a remake of Harvest Moon of Wonderful Life, because technically it is called Story of Seasons, A Wonderful Life. But then there is another announcement that really got my interest, and that is Resident Evil Village. Yes, at long last, one of the biggest games of last year is finally coming to the Nintendo Switch. Although maybe not entirely, but it's going to be the cloud version, and they promise that Lady Dimitrescu is going to be coming to your Switch on Halloween, specifically on October 28th, and even promise that later on we're also going to be getting cloud games of Resident Evil 7 Biohazard, Resident Evil 2, and Resident Evil 3. Then following afterwards, we got an update in regards to the newly released Splatoon 3, in which we got our first post-release Splatfest, in which it is called, in which actually the theme itself will be based on what would you bring on a deserted island, and teams will be separated into 3 with gear, grub, or fun. And that's going to be happening this weekend from September 23rd all the way up to September 25th. Then following afterwards, they got an announcement of a new DLC happening in Xenoblade Chronicles 3, in which we meet a brand new mechanical hero named Ino, in which that one is coming out on October 13th, and promises for more DLC to come. Then afterwards, we got new characters that are arriving later this month in Mario Strikers Battle League, in which Pauline and Diddy Kong will now be added to the roster. Then after that, we also got Nintendo Switch Sports, in which they announced that the golf mode is actually going to be coming this holiday season. So that's going to be another thing for people to look out for. And then they got a little update in terms of the third wave of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, in which they didn't necessarily say when the third wave is going to be coming out, but they did reveal 2 levels that are going to be in the wave. The first of which will be Merry Mountain, which is a holiday-themed course from Mario Kart Tour, and finally Peach Gardens from Mario Kart DS. And then next up that we got here is actually another remake, this time from the PSP, Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion, which I believe is a prequel to Final Fantasy VII, and they stated that it's going to be coming out on the Switch and other platforms on December 13th. Then after that, we got some new Nintendo 64 games that are going to be coming to the Nintendo Switch, specifically on the expansion pass of Nintendo Switch Online, to which they have revealed that Pilot Wings, Mario Party, Mario Party 2, Mario Party 3, 1080 Snowboarding, Excitebike 64, Pokemon Stadium, and Pokemon Stadium 2 are all going to be released between the rest of the year and in 2023. Like, one after another, they're going to be coming out. And on top of that, the most anticipated of them all on that list would actually be one of the biggest and most beloved Nintendo 64 games, GoldenEye 007. Yes, that is also going to be coming to the Nintendo Switch as well. And then afterwards, we also got a new music game from Final Fantasy called Final Fantasy Theater Rhythm Final Bar Line, in which you could play with hundreds of different Final Fantasy games. In fact, it promises that you can play with a total of 385 songs, along with 90 additional songs with a season pass, in which you can play songs from Nier, Octopath Traveler, and Live a Life, in which that game is coming out on February 16th. Then afterwards, we got a little trailer from Bayonetta 3, in which they have confirmed a brand new release date, in which that's going to be coming out on October 28th of this year. Then afterwards, they have revealed, speaking of Octopath Travelers, we got the sequel. Yes, they have revealed a new sequel that's going to be coming, Octopath Travelers 2, in which that's going to be coming out on February 24th of next year. And then after that, we got a new Kirby game. Well, maybe not necessarily new, because once again, this is a remake. Specifically, Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe, a remake of the 2011 Nintendo Wii game, in which that one is going to be coming out on February 24th of next year. And then they've revealed actually, this is the first announcement that they've made on this Nintendo Direct, is actually a brand new Fire Emblem game, which is Fire Emblem Engage, in which this is part of the main story of Fire Emblem, and it will have some familiar faces be on board, including Marth, in which that game is actually going to be coming out on January 20th. And finally, last, but certainly not least, is going to, oh no, this is not the last one. Sorry. No, I believe it's the next one. And then there was a moment where Shigeru Miyamoto actually came in, and he actually made his announcement specifically in regards to Pikmin. Now, he said that right now the production for the Mario movie by Illumination and Super Nintendo World at Universal Studios Hollywood, that's going well. But he wanted to go and present the next Niantic game for mobile phones, which is Pikmin Bloom, in which it encourages people to go and walk around their regional area so that they can go and collect Pikmin, and that they can go and bloom up their flowers, and it's mainly to go and encourage people to go and walk more. But at the same time, he also made the big announcement that there will indeed be a Pikmin 4. Yes, the long-awaited sequel to Pikmin is finally going to be happening, and that is coming out in 2023. And now, last and certainly not least, we have The Legend of Zelda, specifically the highly anticipated sequel to Breath of the Wild, which we can no longer call it Breath of the Wild anymore, in which the sequel will now be called Tears of the Kingdom. And they even revealed an official release date, which will be May 12th, 2023. And that is all the announcements that we got at this month's Nintendo Direct. And one thing I gotta say, like, not only did we get a whole bunch of farming games, but I do notice we got a whole bunch of remakes as well. Like, a lot of them seems to be like ports from something else. And one of which I will say right now, because a lot of people might expect that I would be highly anticipated and really excited for this, is actually in regards to Kirby. Because, like, if you guys know me, then you know that I adore Kirby. Like, Kirby is one of my favorite video game franchises of all time. And the fact that they are releasing a brand new Kirby game, like, that should be something that for me, I would be totally hyped up and really excited for. But in this case, not really, because honestly, I've already played Kirby's Return to Dreamland. Like, I already had the Nintendo Wii game, and I think I might have even already 100%ed it. So, it's not necessarily a high priority of me to go and play that again, especially if I have to go and pay full price for that new version of the game. So, honestly, it's like, like, if I would, I wouldn't say no to not, to playing it. Like, if I end up in a situation where I have to play this, I would be like, okay, but it's not necessarily a high priority on my list. But honestly, with all the others, though, I will say there's not a whole lot that has interested me personally. And like, again, there seems to be so much of them that feels like all they're doing is just ports. They're taking something that already exists and now they're just bringing it to the Switch. And we're not just talking about like the Wii U stuff that they've done before, like to bring a deluxe version of it. Now they're just doing like, they're bringing on board like so many other games at the same time, like the Final Fantasy VII one and many others. And from there, it's like there's not a whole lot that really gathered my interest to it. The only one I will say in terms of the re-releases that really did interest me the most, of course, Resident Evil Village. I mean, like, I will admit I'm one of those people that did simp or still simping for Lady Dimitrescu, and I've always been highly interested in playing the game. It's just that I never really had a PS5 or an Xbox, or really I never had like a full-on PC to truly play it for myself. But now that we do have an opportunity to actually go and play it on the cloud, that got me interested. Like, yeah, it won't be as fun because it is like a cloud version of it, but you know what? I'll be down as long as it's a way for me to play it. I'll definitely be interested. So yeah, that definitely did grab my attention, and it's definitely one of the more hyped up things that I am for this Nintendo Direct. There have been some others as well. Like, I will say it is interesting to see like the new, like seeing all the Mario Party games and even GoldenEye coming to the expansion pack. But then again, I will say I am really not a fan of the control layout of the Nintendo 64 games. Like, I would, honestly, regardless of what I would play, like the Controller Pro or even on the, or even like mobile and stuff like that. Like, I tried playing Kirby 64 with it, and it's just the controls feel confusing. Like, I have to play it like really crooked in order to like, to actually play with it. It's just, I don't know. I'm not a fan with the way with how it's controlled. So I'll see how it is with these ones. Maybe they will improve some things, but yeah, there are some games I will admit did not translate well onto the Nintendo Switch. Unless Nintendo can actually give us an actual option to go and actually change up the controls so that it actually suits like our hands more comfortably. I don't know. It's just a lot of them. Like, I had a bad experience with Kirby. I don't know like if it will really go and improve with some of the other ones, but we'll wait and see. We'll see with how that goes. Bayonetta is also another one that honestly, I'm really excited for. The Bayonetta games are really awesome, and with the third one, I'm definitely down for that one too. I will say, like, there's a lot of announcements that like these are games I'm not that interested, but I'm happy for others that they're gonna get it, like Pikmin 4 or Octopath Traveler 2 or another Fire Emblem game, which I will say, man, am I so happy that we no longer have all the Smash Bros announcements. Like, I'm so glad we don't have like any more anticipation for the next Smash Bros fighter, because I can guarantee you like at least 2 of those characters in Fire Emblem Engage would have been a new fighter in Super Smash Bros Ultimate. Yeah, honestly, those ones I feel like, okay, I'm not personally interested, but hey, you know what? I'm happy for them. And then finally, of course, we got Legend of Zelda. I mean, what can I say about Breath of the Wild? Easily one of the greatest Nintendo Switch games out there, and easily one of the best Zelda games. Like, I had an absolute blast with it, and such a massive game where there's like really so much that you can do. Like, it really is one of those games where even with the inflation, you really do get your bang for your buck. And with that one, like, and believe it or not, I actually personally do know someone who is so crazy with Breath of the Wild that they managed to finish it 100%. And if you know Breath of the Wild, you know how insane of a task that actually is. So honestly, honestly, when it comes to that person, I don't know if I have admiration or I just look at them as completely crazy. It's like a bit of a balance of both with that kind of thing. But yeah, honestly, hearing about Tears of the Kingdom, I'm totally excited about it. I'm totally hyped up for it, and I cannot wait. Like, that's definitely one of those games I'm definitely getting on day one, or even like I'm gonna go pre-order it. So honestly, that is one game I'm really excited for. I really can't wait for that to actually go and come out. So honestly, I think, like, for me personally, I don't really have a lot that I would say I'm like definitely hyped up for. Like, for me, I would say my true standout ones are Resident Evil Village, Bayonetta 3, and Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. But all the other ones, they have a lot of pretty solid announcements. I mean, yeah, it's a bit ridiculous with all the farm games that are announced, but overall, I would say, it's a pretty decent direct. I would say it's good. Maybe not the best, but I think this is a good one where they do have a solid list of announcements. So I think it's pretty good with what they have here. Okay, so with that said, now it's time that I go into the chat wall, and I want to ask you all, how do you feel about this Nintendo Direct? Which are the announcements that you are the most hyped up for? Which ones are you the most interested in getting yourself? Let me know what you think. Okay, let's see what we got here. Let's see. Here are my list of games that I'm all in for. Early horror gameplay by Markiplier, Rune Factory, Front Mission remakes, Harvestella, Nintendo Switch Sports, Mario Kart 8, Bayonetta 3, Fire Emblem Engage, Breath of the Wild 2, mainly for my sister. Now, if we could have that Mario movie before 2025, the 40th anniversary of Mario. Well, I mean, technically, that movie is going to be scheduled for April of next year, and so far, according to Miyamoto, things are going pretty well for it, so we'll wait and see on that. Let's see. This Nintendo Direct was honestly just okay. For me, my most anticipated games are SpongeBob the Cosmic Shake, the Wave 3 DLC for Mario Kart Deluxe, Pikmin 4, and Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. However, I'm shocked we didn't get the Mario movie trailer. In fact, one moment I liked was when Miyamoto came out and basically trolled people and thinking we would get the trailer, but we didn't. Oh my god, that is so true. Like, even I was fooled. Like, I saw Miyamoto come out and I was like, oh my god, he's gonna show it. We're finally gonna do it. Nope. It's just Pikmin Bloom. I was like, what? You're making a big... Excuse me, sir. Are you making a big deal of a freaking Niantic mobile game? But he did justify it with the announcement of Pikmin 4. At least there was that. Let's see now. My reaction to Nintendo Direct. The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Bayonetta 3, I never played the games, but this looks interesting. Xenoblade 3, never a fan, but this does have a lot of promise. Fatal Frame, Mask of the Lunar Eclipse. I'm way too scared to play this, so I would stick with Resident Evil instead. Mario Kart DLC, more of this. Why? Splatoon 3. I might get this game tomorrow, and Pikmin 4, give me more Pikmin. Let's see. What else we got here? This Nintendo Direct was honestly just okay. For me, my most anticipated games are SpongeBob the Cosmic... wait, didn't I read... Oh, no. No. We did... I literally did that. Okay, I literally read that. Sorry. Let's go. Lightning Round. Tears of the Kingdom. Beyond Beautiful. Pikmin 4. It's about time. Fire Emblem Engage. The main characters look like a VTuber. Octopath 2. Looks as great as the first one. Bayonetta 3. Let's dance, boys. Resident Evil, bonk. Xenoblade 3, Eno needs to eat something. She's as skinny as a Barbie doll. Farming games, Nintendo. When we talked about farming in video games, we were talking about farming for items, not actual farming. Yeah, they looked at all the RPGs and Pokemon. And it was like, I see a lot of people talking about farming. We should make farming games. I'll read one more comment before we cap this off. So, I'm excited for the new Legend of Zelda game, Resident Evil Village, some of the ports, and the Art Gallery horror game. That being said, here's hoping the Nintendo meme involving the "that's not my wallet" scene does remain true. Also, it's horny jail time again. Oh yeah, this Halloween, let's just say, you guys know where I'm gonna be. And with that said, that should do it for today's episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. Thank you all so much for joining me on this. I know this is one of the longer episodes, but we definitely had a good time with this one. So also, I just want to mention, if you guys would like to watch me live on AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast without any ads, then please make sure to subscribe on my Twitch channel. Also, guys, don't forget to subscribe to AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast on YouTube, and follow me on whatever podcast provider you're listening to me on. Rather it be on Spotify, on Google Play, on iTunes, on Amazon, or whatever. So with all that said and done, thank you all so much for joining me on this. Thank you all so much for listening. Thank you all so much for watching. And until next time, see you later, dudes.